So I want to start and just kind of introduce you. I want to read off of your Instagram tag, and then you can correct me.
Sure.
But you are Monica Boldt, and you advertise yourself as Bold Fit Technique on Instagram. You are a fitness and health coach, AFM instructor, SFG2 instructor, a runner, and a plant-based athlete. So, sounds like you have a lot going on, a lot going for you. Can you just tell me a little bit about your business or what it is that you do? What I just listed off, I'm not even sure what an AFM instructor is. So, yeah, tell me a little bit.
I'm kind of limited on the Instagram description, and so I have to just use like the acronym on that.
Sure.
But, so my Instagram page is really just directly devoted to promoting kind of highlights of what I do, how I train my clients, and also me. It's movement based, and always try to inspire people to go beyond, try new things, I guess I should say, instead of just kind of the standard stuff. So I show how we can use kettlebells in a different way, things like that. And so the AFM is actually, well, I'll backtrack. The SFG2 is Strong First. And that's my second level kettlebell certification that I have.
Okay.
My original was the RKC back when it was kind of the RKC, and then they kind of transitioned over to SFG. So there's advanced techniques with that protocol. It's very strength oriented, so anything out of that cert has a very strong strength foundation. So one of the main tools I do use when I train my clients and myself is kettlebells. It's so versatile. I take it everywhere I go. It kind of exposes weaknesses in people they didn't even really know they had. So when you use it as a tool, and the tension techniques applied, and your where your structure needs to be, and that it kind of shows people, oh, I need to address this and this. So it's just a super tool. And then the AFM, I received that certification actually this year in April in Connecticut, and it was probably one of the most life-changing certifications I took. And that's one thing I do as a fitness professional. I'm always educating myself. Like, I'm always keeping my certifications current and things like that. But they're actually based out of the UK, and they came into the States for this. Actually, we are the group that I was with. We are the first American certified AFM specialists.
Oh, wow.
So kind of cool.
That's neat.
But it's more of a philosophy. So it's not like, hey, here's a bunch of exercises. It's a philosophy. It's a way of training. Kind of to give example would be, it's based off the elements: fire, earth, air, water. And a lot of times when we train, we are usually going back and forth between fire and earth. And what that means is either really high intensity or strength workouts. But we don't do air or water. That would be restorative, low intensity, skill-based exercises. And that's when you do all of those, you kind of fill in the gaps and balance yourself. So I do have an outdoor class that I started. It's a barefoot outdoor class that I do, and it's based off of that principle and what's lacking in the area. So that's kind of the gist of that. It's, again, like I said, there's not particular exercises, but the main premise behind that cert is fighting lifestyle. So we're kind of hunched over at our desks, we're sitting a lot,
right,
and everything is to combat that.
Okay, very cool. So tell me, how did you get into the fitness world, deciding you wanted to be a fitness instructor, or getting into these certifications? How did that all unfold?
Yeah, so I was kind of bizarre because when I was young, I knew I wanted to be, kind of back then, I knew I wanted to be a personal trainer probably when I was 15 years old. I think I get my love of fitness from my mom. She grew up in Hawaii. She was very into health and nutrition, fasting, and so it just was kind of there in me. But at that time, I was also, like when I got into college, I was a singer, and so I had kind of wavered. Do I want to go to school and get a kinesiology degree, or do I want to do music? And it was kind of a back and forth thing. So I ended up pursuing a couple degrees in music, but I got myself certified, and it just started ever since. Like, I would be away at music programs, and my mind would just be constantly racing on programs I can do with my clients and different exercises, and that's how I knew, I'm like, this is with me for life. Like, this is who I am. Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. So tell me about what you enjoy about being an instructor, what it is you do on a daily basis.
So the thing is, I do have about 3 jobs that I do. Kind of one of my 9 to 5, so to speak, is non-related. It's actually in the dental business. I took over my dad's business when he passed. So because I was doing training full-time about 6 years ago. And then this opportunity came, and so it's a way to help out the family, and it's a great job. But what it allowed me to do is actually be more specific in how I train and who I take on. And that's because training, in a way, if you continue to do that, you can get burnt out. It's kind of the day in, day out. But if you can find your niche, that's where you just can't wait to get up. So I have clients in the morning now that they are more advanced. They're very body aware, but I got them to that point. And so we get to work on very sports specific things. We get to move on mobility. We get to do not just general fitness stuff. And that is exciting because there are so many things that you can work on. And it's not just, oh, we're going to do weight loss focus today. You know? It's, oh, he's a little weak in this muscle, or this movement pattern is not as strong. We need to fix that. And it constantly keeps your wheels turning. So that's what excites me to keep doing what I'm doing and educating myself, because they're paying us money, and you don't want to just keep year after year doing the same old thing.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, look, kind of level out. Gotcha. So what are your goals now that you've, gotten these new certifications, or the most recent one, and what you're currently doing in the fitness world? What are your goals with that?
So, I have a lot of ideas.
It sounds like
I'm always kind of brainstorming, and it's always like, how can I fit one more thing into my life?
I know.
But the one thing I did start, where it's kind of been incremental for me, is an outdoor class. So I call it GEMS, GEMS. Okay. But it stands for Ground, Earth, Mobility, and Stretching. And that class has been awesome. It's a donation-based class. I make my homemade kombucha and bring it to class.
I love
it. And I think that's why they show up.
Free kombucha! You got me. That's awesome.
But it's a 4-part system based off kind of what I've noticed lacking in the area. We have a lot of runners, we have cyclists, we have Camp Gladiator, we have spin, we have a lot of like high intensity, let's push your body, CrossFit, all that stuff. Yeah. And people love that, but they are getting injured. They are, things are happening. So I wanted to be a solution that they can still do what they love, but they're going to be stronger and more resilient going into it, because they're going to be able to move better. So, I've had people come in walking across the park, and they're like, what's this class about? And they start coming, and they're regulars.
Wow.
So it's really exciting, because it's a class that's attracting who needs it and who I want there, so it's a really cool core group, and I'm really excited to just keep, fleshing that out and seeing where it'll go. So that's kind of my my immediate goal, immediate passion right now.
Okay.
And then I still, since I have a music background, I still have an idea of putting together a movement program for singers, because you need to be really body aware, but also do it in a healthy way while they're singing. So that is kind of a long-term goal of mine. I'm back in the singing world. I'm making connections. So I'd love to be able to combine the two and see where that goes.
Very cool. I'm interested to see how that goes. I'm going to keep following your stories and everything. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
So switching gears, tell me a little bit. I know on your Instagram you said you're a plant-based athlete. I want to switch gears and talk about nutrition for a minute. Tell me your thoughts and viewpoints on plant-based or vegan diets and how you think that ties in with being an athlete.
Well, nutrition, that is very specific.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that probably tried everything over the years. So kind of backtrack about a year and a half ago, well, almost 2 years probably now, I went fully raw vegan. So I just cold turkey one day. I wanted to enhance my health as much as possible. I was kind of looking at it for like prematurely gray hair and just energy. And I had studied so much over, the year about it. And then I decided one day to do it cold turkey, and I did. The first 6 months, I felt awesome. Like, it was great. But with that kind of diet, you have to eat a lot. And I have a very, very busy lifestyle, and I was starting to struggle with that, like getting enough greens down and nutrients. So I kind of just slipped into a vegan diet. And at that time, though, I was still kind of, my energy levels actually started going down a little bit. So I did the vegan diet for a while, and I'm like, this seems like a groove for me. I'm feeling good here. I like this. I'd never never craved a lot of animal products anyhow, so I thought I found a good niche. But even then, I still had some chronic fatigue issues, and I wasn't sure what was going on. So kind of last summer, I started really getting into a solid program of fasting. So that's where kind of my whole life changed, and I'm really diligent about that. So I do time-restricted feeding. I will do, for example, like a 16-hour window of fasting and an 8-hour window of eating every single day, 7 days a week. That's pretty normal for me. Then I might throw in a couple 24-hour fasts a week, one 48-hour fast a month. And as I did that cumulatively over the past year and a half, energy, everything started balancing out. So going back to a vegan diet, I feel I am more on the side of eat as many plants as possible. And if you have to have some animal products, it's okay, but that's not the majority of my diet. So mostly plants, occasional little animal product, because sometimes, like if I'm at a work meeting, that might be the only option. And I wanted to also have a feeling of, I didn't want my diet to be stressful. I think that's kind of the other thing is we can get so concerned about our macronutrients and, we got a meal prep and where am I going to get this good food, that it actually becomes a stressor. And I don't think nutrition should be a stressor. I think it should be, that's where the fasting comes in, because the absence of not eating was actually relaxing to me. So when I do eat, I do a lot of fermented foods. I do a lot of like huge salads, and I incorporate healthy fats, chia seeds, flax seeds, red palm oil, seaweed, all those kinds of things, to be as highly nutrient dense as possible. And that's what I usually coach my clients with. I'm like, if they've had some hormonal issues, getting, don't go too low in fats, don't go too high in carbs, find kind of that medium, and it starts regulating.
Right. So you're still doing the fasting today, right?
Yes.
Now?
Yeah.
Tell me.
It's a lifestyle. Like, I'll never not do it.
That's awesome. So that you figured out that's what works for you, and that's what you're going to do for long term.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So tell me your typical day, like when you start fasting, when you eat, what time frames do you do that in?
Okay. So normally, I try to finish eating about 7 o'clock at night. Late night eating is one of the worst things. I have a client, for example, that she eats well during the day. She works out with me. She's not overweight, but she's still, she was pre-diabetic and now has diabetes because she would have late night sweets. Oh. And, that late night eating is like one of the biggest things that we can do to improve our health. If we just stop at 7 o'clock and then, go to bed and then wake up next morning, say you eat at 7, that's a 12-hour window of not eating. That will already be a game changer for most people. So I stop at 7, and then I usually will eat my first meal at about 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And so when I eat, I will do, like a huge salad with the fats. I'll do fats, carbs, and protein. That may be a plant-based protein, but I'll always have those 3 macronutrients in there. I don't count calories. I don't count my macronutrients or anything like that.
Yay! That gets so stressful when people do that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes, it does. And it's like we don't have time for that, and I feel like that's why fasting takes care of that, because then you're just eating sense. And it's way less stressful. So I'll do that, and then it just kind of depends on my activity level. If like I have a lot of activity going on, I might have another large meal in the evening. It might be an egg scramble. I will do some eggs, but I'll put Swiss chard in there and seaweed and all these sorts of vegetables, maybe some black beans and all that. So I get maybe about 1 to 2 meals in a day, and that's so contrary to like what we hear. But it's amazing how my energy is like just skyrockets. And I work out fasted as well. So in the mornings, I might be about 10 to 12 hours fasted. And there's studies to show, especially with men, how that really helps. But even women, when you work out in a fasted state, especially like lifting weights and stuff, your human growth hormone increases, and also your testosterone. So for women, it's beneficial in the sense that if you're trying to preserve lean muscle mass and burn fat, you've already, while you're sleeping, you're going through those glycogen stores. So when it's time to start exercising, you're going to actually go into your fat stores. You're not going to burn off protein. You're not going to have muscle wasting or, get in a catabolic state. It doesn't happen that quickly. So if people go a few hours without eating, they're not going to just wither away.
Yeah, right.
So
just hang in there.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's kind of a typical day. I'm going to do a 24-hour fast starting this afternoon. And I kind of, during the seasons, like the summer, I was doing a pretty strict fasting schedule, but I was getting a little hungrier and a little more tired. So I thought I need to back it off. I need a little more food because I was really, really active. But during the winter, I kind of do more fasting, and it really helps balance out the holidays.
Okay.
So
good tip. Nice.
Yeah.
So what, I guess for someone who is looking in or taking your advice and like, okay, I think I'm going to start fasting. I'm going to give it a shot. What one piece of advice would you give for them starting out?
So, yeah, because there's a lot of, I'll say this. A lot of people, a lot of information that's out there, they'll look at fasting as just like, oh, is it a good weight loss tool? And fasting's more than that. So I do want to kind of preface with that. Fasting is more than just a weight loss tool. If you want to use it as that, it can be very good. It's a great tool to do that. You don't need to change your diet. People can eat keto, they can do a paleo, they can be vegan, and you can still fast, because fasting is just not eating.
Right.
So kind of with just that in mind, the main thing is eat within a window. So find a window that you can do 5 days a week, and say if it's 7 to 7 or 8 to 8, that's pretty good. Some like 6 to 6 or something. But start with a 12-hour window and just see how you do. Do that for several weeks, and then you can increase that window by an hour. It's almost like marathon training.
Right.
You know how that long run, you just kind of increase a mile. Same idea. You want to go into it gradually. So that's kind of the main focus. Why I'm saying a 12 to 12 is most people jump into extremes with fasting. I'm going to go all day without eating, and then they bonk and, oh, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, because they didn't do it correctly. So just start with a 12-hour eating window. Most people can do that. And then you'll find you already feel better. Your digestion's better. There's a lot of benefits in that.
Yes.
So that's the main tip.
Okay, good deal. I will say I tried fasting last year. I think I was doing a 14 to 16 hour fast. And within the first week, like waking up in the morning was the greatest thing in the world, because before I was fasting, I was eating like close to my bedtime, so then I was waking up feeling bloated and gassy and just groggy and like terrible. But when you, like you said, like if you stop eating well before you go to bed, like you have so much energy in the morning, and working out in the morning was like so much easier.
That is very, very true. And when, like if you're maybe at a work conference or something and you have those late night meetings and you have to eat later, then you notice the difference. You're like, oh, I'm struggling again. And part of that is at night, our body should be repairing, not digesting food.
Yeah.
So if we're eating late at night, that's what's happening. We're spending all that energy digesting food instead of actually repairing our muscles and repairing our cells. And that's why when you don't eat, you feel much better, because you're not spending the whole night digesting your food. You're actually repairing your body.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. So on the repairing note, what are your thoughts on like supplements or protein powders? Do you use them or not?
I do. I use a plant-based protein powder. I kind of mixed a couple. I usually use a plant-based, like a Sun Warrior plant-based protein powder that has all the aminos in it. I have toyed around with the bone broth protein because collagen benefits. So that's where I feel like skin, hair for me is kind of something I've been really wanting to focus on. That's why I'll supplement sometimes with the bone broth. And I think that's good, especially, none of us really suffer from a lack of protein in America. We don't have a protein deficiency, really. But, and I'm not the type like you need 0.8 to 1 gram per body weight. There's plenty to show that between probably about 70 grams, 50 to 70, at least 50 grams a day is needed for survival. So I get more than that. But I think the protein powders are a good way. Add them in your smoothies. I like make banana nice cream and I'll add them into that.
Yum.
Yeah. If I feel like I maybe had a lower day of food intake and I'm like, I just need to get my protein up, I'll use it that way. I have played around with supplements in the past and never really feel like I benefited from it. I feel that if you do get most of your nutrition from your food, then you'll be okay. Supplements would be something that you might be, if you're a little low on something. But here's the kicker with that. If you take one supplement and you're not combining it with its kind of partner, so to speak, you can end up actually doing more damage, because then you can get your vitamins and minerals out of balance.
Yeah.
So that's where it's kind of regular blood work done, then you kind of see where you're at.
Can you repeat that last part? It was breaking up for whatever reason.
Yeah. So I was saying, if you get like regular blood work done, then you can kind of know, hey, these, vitamins, minerals I'm taking is actually helping, because maybe you're taking a lot of calcium and then your calcium levels get way high and your magnesium's down, and you can actually kind of, that scale can get off. So you kind of need to know where you're starting from. And then if you take a particular supplement, monitor it, and then maybe back off after you get that level where you need it.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today and telling me your story and your fitness and nutrition and all the above. I'm so excited to keep following along and see how your singing and movement class goes, or that whole thing. So thanks again, and everyone, whoever's watching, follow Monica on Instagram, Boldt Fit Technique. I will add it to the post below. So thanks again.
Thanks, Lacey.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.